Welcome to Monday, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from Tāmaki Makaurau, Coatesville, yes, out on the shore, but also is an amazing lady who happens to be the CEO of The Property Lifestyle. Also is the author of the bestseller book in Aotearoa, New Zealand, called the Quadrant Property, but also is an amazing lady who has an amazing story in terms of grit, dedication, and determination, even in the midst of adversity, and also, I guess, in this time, in terms of climate, finances, and property investment. I think it's important for us, even more so as men, to have the kōrero and to have the talanoa, the conversation. Please put your hands together for the amazing Nichole Lewis.
Man, you're amazing. You make me sound like a star.
Oh, hey,
wow.
you are a star. You are a star. Hard up. Hey, like you
what
said,
an intro.
Thank you, Nichole. And listen, thank you so much. I know you've come from afar. I know it's a bit of a travel, bit of a hike, but thank you for joining us at the table. And so I thought just to start the ball rolling, Nichole, because I think people think, obviously, in terms of the economic climate in this day and age, people think, investment property, buying a home, getting a house, and so forth. It's only for a few select, only for the affluent, only for the rich. Maybe I'm not made for this and all that kind of stuff. I don't have the information, all that kind of stuff. But I want you to squash that and to smash that myth in terms of if you can share some key challenges that you've had, of your face in your early days of property investment, and how did you overcome that?
That was me. I also thought, nah, man, there's just no way I can get a house, because the house pricing is rising faster than what I can save. And I had, like in my book, Property Quadrants, I talk about the fact that I crashed and burned in the global financial crisis in 2008 and lost absolutely everything. So I had to start all over again with no money. I had bad credit. The banks would shut the doors when I walked past. They don't automatically open for me, they'd close. And no sort of family money or nothing like that. So I had to start all over again. And I think the biggest battle, to be fair, is your mindset. And so you've got to first of all believe you can do it. Because if you believe you can't, your mind will look for ways to prove you right. If you believe you can, your mind will look for ways to prove you right. And so I had to catch myself saying exactly that. I thought I couldn't get a family home again. I thought, I'll just have to be happy renting for the rest of my life, and that's just what it is. And then actually I thought, someone came, it was my business coach. I've got a business coach. She said to me, okay, do this little exercise, because people love to be negative, right? Myself included. Now, write down, it is impossible for me to get a family home unless. So knock yourself out. What's all the things you need? It's like, well, I need a deposit, I need the bank to open the doors, and then I need them to flippin' well approve me, and I need some income, and I need to find something I love, and then I need to be able to pay the jolly mortgage, and then I don't want to be stressed. So how do I do all that? And so it's kind of a little fun exercise, because then it's like, okay, the next step is, right, now pick the top three things. Of course, with property, it's how do I get my deposit? How do I get the bank to say yes? And then work on those. What's your strategy? And so you start writing out 3 or 4 things that you're going to do, and then you work on them. And as you, step by step, you're getting your house as one step at a time. And when you go through that sort of little exercise where there's no wrong answers, you can write down anything. I can win lotto, write it down. I can do, I can make $100,000 from a property deal. Even if you don't believe yourself at the time, you write it down. And then you have a look and go, okay, now, what's within my control? Lotto. No, not really within my control. So I won't circle that one as one to work on. Make some money from a property deal. Yeah, I don't know how, but I know people who know how. So yes, I'll circle that one. I'll investigate it. And then you just basically start putting step by step by step together. And it might be, I'll read a book. It might be, I'll listen to a podcast. It might be, I'll go to a property investor group. Ooh, scary, but I can tell you those people are amazing. And then you just open yourself up to learn, and then your mind starts to believe, I can do it. So, that's exactly what I did to get my first my second family home, because I lost the first one. So, that's exactly how I did it to start with what's the impossible. And then you pull it back and put a strategy into place. And the thing with property, there's no rules. So if you need a super long settlement so that you can get some money, I was talking to a real estate agent the other day, and he said, the longest settlement I ever did was 6 years. I thought, what? 6 years? I've never tried 6 years. I'm going to. Now, next week, man, all the agents are getting 6 years from me.
What does that mean, settlement? What is that?
Settlement is when you actually have to hand over the money to buy the house, and you get the keys the day you take possession.
Oh, wow.
So, like where our brains are trained, or the real estate agents or lawyers or banks tell us, you've got 30 days. There's no rules. Anything between 30 days and 6 years, nothing's off the table.
Wow, that's so cool, because I think that's one of the biggest barriers. Nichole, is people think, because they're not informed, they don't know, and maybe they're asking the wrong questions. They're like, okay, and probably afraid to even ask the questions.
Yeah.
So when was it for you when you realised, hey, I can actually get a house, or I could actually get more property? When was it the light bulb moment, like, hey, I can actually do this?
Well, I think my life actually splits in two completely different directions. So when I was young, I used to believe I was bulletproof. Like I suppose lots of teenagers do. So woohoo, I can do anything. And my grandmother always used to say to me, you can achieve anything you want. You can do anything. And I believed that, solidly believed that. She also told me, money was a worry. And I believed that too. So, the certain things that our parents and grandparents tell us are good, and certain things not so much. But I took that belief, and when I was young, that's exactly what I thought. And I managed to get into property, and I managed to do really well and ride an incredibly big wave to success. I was thinking, woohoo, man, I am bulletproof. Then my first down cycle was the global financial crisis. Unlucky. And, not only did I crash down, I was unfortunate enough to hit the gutter. And then, of course, I happened to be the one that hit the drain and fall down the flipping drain, and then get carried away in the dark, murky depth of, lose everything, despair, debt collectors phoning you to scream at you every day. And that took a bit to come back from that. So that's sort of like the part two of building up again, which was harder because I didn't have the whole bulletproof mindset. I had the, I'm useless. I've let everyone down. I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm a failure. I had my kids were 2 and 4, so what life have they had? And, all that stuff. So bad mindset to start with. So the first thing I had to do was turn the mindset around.
Wow. Just,
Oh, no, I can hear the rut. I can hear the rut.
Let's call it that.
I'm even feeling it. But you've highlighted, how long, it's important to sit there though, not sit there, but experience that and kind of go through the motions of those, I guess, feelings. But at what point do you then just go, I can't keep living like this? Like, at what point do you decide I need a new mindset?
Yeah, look, and I think that is a really good question. And I think you tend to look at life through what I call an up lens or a down lens. Either everything that happens to you is negative, on a daily basis, like right down to whether the lights go red. Oh, red light again. Or it's a positive. Oh, red light, cool. Like on the way here, my daughter and I are like, quick, there's a red light, nothing behind us. Let's get out of the car, swap driving so I can eat my KFC and on the way. This is a positive. So, and then of course when she takes off, she forgot to put it in drive. But probably not allowed to say that. It was funny. So that's number one is, are you a natural up lens person where everything's a positive, or down lens person where everything's a negative? And the reason that's a really key place to start is that the mind and the body is a cybernetic loop. And so therefore, if we think we can't, we're right. And if we think we can, we're right. And then whatever the body tells the mind, it will believe. And whatever the mind tells the body, it will believe. So it's like if you think about when you get angry, and I'm really good at that because my husband calls me the volcano, and you think about your body, it gets tense. and you'll make a fist and you'll get all tight, and then your voice starts to change and you grit your teeth and you get all stiff and and then because your body takes on this, your mind starts getting angry. And it works the other way. Like when you realise you're doing it, you can stop and change your body. Like, hang on, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to open my hands. I'm going to put my shoulders back. I'm going to start talking slower. And your body starts automatically calming down. So you've got to control what you're thinking. And I think what I learnt with the down lens is that, yes, sit in it, wallow in it, have your pity party for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Set a timer. Hey Siri, set a timer for 5 minutes. Now, pity party, go away, feel sorry for yourself. Then snap out of it, up lens, what am I going to do? What's my positive action?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good. And I guess I guess with the up lens, again, what is it? Like affirmations? Is it you just having your own self-talk? Is it you just making a decision? Because you said earlier that you have a business coach.
Yes, I do.
So did you have a business coach throughout this whole journey, or did you? At what point did you bring them in?
Like, I wish. And this is where it is interesting, because business coaches, they cost money.
Yeah.
And mine, she's amazing. Her name's Dee Hutchinson. She's a C-suite coach. She's amazing, but she's based in Europe, so I pay her in euros. Unfortunate. But
is it times for the dollar? Yeah.
But man, she is absolutely amazing. So that's a really good question, and I think that you've got to do what works for you. So one of the things I did was I started feeling grateful, and it was hard. Like, a friend of mine said, what are 5 things you're grateful for? And I'm like, my husband and my family. And I'm like, I don't know, what? I've got no money. No, stop, you've had your pity party. What are you grateful for? And I'm like, well, I'm healthy and fit. There you go. Well, I've got somewhere to live, and it's not my own house. Nope, you've had your pity party. What? Oh, I've got somewhere to live, and it's a really cool house. No, I'm like, no, can't say it's not. Okay, cool. What else are you grateful for? What have you succeeded in? Nothing, freaking nothing, because I lost everything. I suck at it. No, you've had your down party. What did you good at? Well, I know what not to do in property. There you go. There's a positive. I also know what I should do in property. There you go. So what are you grateful for? What I've learnt. But I didn't enjoy the lessons. And I was like, no, you can't say that. So, it's when you are really down in the dark place, it's not easy. And you really need the willpower and the determination to do it. And if you've got that, you're right, it's gratefulness. And affirmations are really good, but affirmations are interesting because the conscious mind is the one that makes it up. Like we might say, I don't know, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm successful, I earn. How people say, I earn however much you want to earn. The conscious mind makes it up, but the conscious mind doesn't believe it. Because you'll say it, and then you'll hear the voice inside your head going, that's not true, that's rubbish. No, you don't make that much money. What are you doing? You're not 10 kilos, you weigh 100 kilos. What are you doing about? And you've got to kind of overcome that, because the subconscious mind does not know the difference between fiction and reality. So if we tell the subconscious mind that we are successful, it believes us. If we tell it we're unsuccessful, it believes us, and it makes it real. So affirmations are really powerful, but you have to go through that phase of disbelief because your conscious mind will correct you. That's not true. That's not who you are.
That's cool.
Yeah. And
how do you tap into the subconscious? Is there a way specifically? Or?
The subconscious is really through repetition. So and that's where affirmations are really good. Like if you repeat them, say them in the mirror. I used to tell my horse, he was a good, great listener. My husband saying, you're nuts, you're going off riding to have a discussion with your horse again about what to do. I was like, yep, absolutely. Or, your cat, your dog, or the mirror, or whatever. And it's simply repetition. I read a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I loved that book. That was such a turnaround for me about what we believe. And the other really, really good thing about that book, and I did the exercise, it said get a notebook, and at the end of every day, every single day, you write down 3 things that have happened that are awesome that day. And it can be anything. It doesn't matter. You just write them down. And then you do that exercise for 30 days, and sometimes I'd forget. I'd be like, oh, get out of bed, quick, get my book. What are my 3 things? Sometimes you can't even think of 1, other times you can think of 10. But you've got to write down 3. And then the phase 2 of that is you then start writing down what are 3 things you're going to achieve tomorrow. And the reason you do it right before you go to bed is because your mind, while you're asleep, or your subconscious, is working on that for you. So you actually sleep a lot better because you haven't got all the crap going on. You wake up in the morning and you're focused on what you're going to do, and you have a purpose of, and even if you achieve one thing, because the other thing I learned, you're either moving toward your goal or away from it. There's no middle ground. Which way are you going? So if you do one thing each day, then you're moving towards it, and that's all you need to do.
That's cool.
Man, we're getting some good nuggets here. And I didn't know because I've heard it before. That doctor, as a psychologist, he's an American psychologist, but he lives in New Zealand now. And so he said very similar in terms of the subconscious and the conscious. He said that, sometimes when the subconscious, especially if you've got goals or dreams, that's you're in your kind of like your element. But once you in your conscious, that's when he kind of like, oh, okay, oh no, I should just stay in the subconscious. Very, very interesting. I like that. And so, for yourself, even now, as you are the CEO of Property Lifestyle, how much of that, in terms of subconscious, are you still using day to day? Is it just a day to day workings, or in terms of your mindset, or was it just sometimes you find yourself going back into those kind of those negative or bad habits again?
Look, that's a really good question, and things happen to us every day that we either filter through the positive or the negative. And definitely, every single day, I mean, like even last week, I had a deal that didn't go through, and I'm like, oh God, or and then the week before, I had a deal that did go through, and I'm like, ooh, and my business coach is like, oh, well, you're very motivated today. And other times I get on the call with him, I'm like, oh, you're gonna have to straighten out my mind because this has happened and that's happened, and it's really good to have someone to bounce ideas off. Someone that's positive, that's passionate, and that really wants to see you succeed and do well. Because I think that's another thing, is that we as human beings, of course, we like to talk to other people. So we chat to either our family or our colleagues at work. And when it comes to property, they're not necessarily the best people to talk to. Because if they don't know about it and they're not experienced, they might put you off. And therefore we make a decision based on the wrong information. Yeah.
Because I also think, there's maybe 3 decades where, house prices started to move up quite significantly. And you would hear 3 decades ago, I don't know how the next generation is going to be able to afford a house. It's just going to be so expensive. Like your generation is just not going to be able to afford a house. So then these are the things that play into the subconscious of this generation. And then the media has shit news about the economy, and then the recession, and then you see them driving the house prices up and then driving them down, and then you hear things like reverse recession. And so you kind of, your conscious brain, your subconscious brain is like, this is impossible. Mm-hmm. This is impossible. So the tools you're sharing, they're so helpful, because you're right, it is a mindset. It is such a mindset. And so now that we've worked on that, what skill sets do you need? What is the toolkit to be able to move into that space, to be able to start? What is the tool? What are the skills that you need?
So, number 1, determination. That's what you've got to have. And I don't listen to the news. So like my one of my best friends will go, oh, such and such has happened. Oh, she goes, but you won't know that because you don't listen to the news. Because you're right. The shit sells. And news is always so negative. And what I say to my coaching clients is, you've always got to think, what are you feeding yourself? Because whatever you're feeding yourself is the direction you're going to be driven in. So what do? I really like listening to Audible books. Much as I'd like to say I love reading a fiction book. Am I ever going to read a business book? No, I get bored. So, you know, I can read so many fiction books and I really like crime, but I can't feed my mind too much of that because then I start, you know, thinking about different things.
The ice cream.
Get creative.
Yeah. So therefore I listen to Audible books. So all of the audio books I listen to are business and they're fantastic. So I make sure that when I'm driving somewhere in the car, I've got audio books playing, or I'm off feeding the horses, I'm listening to those or whatever. And that's a really good way of feeding. And you can also pick what you want to learn. So therefore, what do I want to learn about property, or what do I want to learn about investing, or what do I need to know about mindset, or do I want to listen to someone's really cool story that I can be invigorated from and listen to those. You know, podcasts as well, of course. You want to do those sorts of things and join some online groups, specifically around property. So you can chat online, and then you can also go to investor groups. Wherever you live in the country, there's an investor group.
Do they cost $10,000?
They cost $200 if you want to pay for the whole entire year.
That's amazing.
I know.
So
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
groups that charge like 10K for you to be able to use their suppliers and blah, blah, blah. What do you think about that?
Oh, look, it depends. So I think coaching's brilliant, right? I'm all for it. I don't know if they're coaching groups, the people who pay for those sorts of things, but I think that you want to make sure you're getting value for money. So you want to have a mix of doing things. I love things that are free. And I also pay top dollar for a top coach.
Okay.
So what do I think about? I'm not 100% sure what you'd pay $10,000 for and what you get in return. So I can't really comment on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But there's lots of different property coaches out there. I mean, I do coaching, and I think you choose. I think they're great if you've got. But what you got to be careful of, if you're going to go down that path, find a property coach that guarantees results. Find a property coach you can actually get access to, because some of them you can't call them or things like that. Make sure you can afford the coaching. Don't be talked into putting it all on 5 different credit cards, because that's only going to give you financial stress, and I know all about that. And don't let them talk you into putting something on 5 different credit cards. And even though you might be going, but I need this so I can work up to it. It's like, well, hang on, wait. What's at the neck? It's a stepping stone. So yes, you might need that, but maybe not now. What can you do in the meantime? And that's when you'd maybe subscribe to the New Zealand Property Investor magazine. Okay. It's like $99 a year. It comes out once a month. There's brilliant articles in there and brilliant people in there. Phone those people. Talk to them. Go to your local property investor group. There's certain events they do for free. So go to those. Meet the people. Talk to them. And then you can, and they'll inspire you and they'll encourage you, and then you can work up to getting a mentor or doing something like that you want a mentor you share the same values with, and that is going to be invested in you and that you can afford.
Yeah.
Yeah, or do it at a time you can afford it.
That's
So-
helpful.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
That's
good
very
advice.
helpful.
Yeah.
That's very helpful, especially for people who are trying to learn,
Correct.
because they don't come from a lineage where property was a thing, or maybe they did and it was 5 decades ago and it was something you did back when the government was helping quite a lot of families out to do that. But 5 decades later, people were just like, I don't know how to do this in this climate. So I think that's really helpful. 2 things I want to make sure we cover tonight is your 4 quadrants.
Yep.
So I think those are really, really got some really good information. But I also read a mini article around your whole experience in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
One of my questions around that is, did you see, like, what were the learnings? What were the learnings from that? I also read in there that even the banks shut down or something, and they couldn't. Maybe I misread that. Maybe you tell the story.
Some of the banks did. Okay.
Yeah.
So, 2008. Okay, so I started doing property. So I bought my first house when I was quite young, and then thought, hey, if I could buy 10 properties and then wait 10 years, which is forever. Because then by the time I'm 30, which is like super ancient, I'll be rich. Because I thought that sounds cool. That was my philosophy. And so you read these books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich and all that stuff. It's like, okay, I'll go buy property. And the reason I like the idea of property, because I also read about shares and commodities and derivatives and all that stuff as well. And I thought, okay, I can only really master one of them because they're all exceedingly complicated. And I didn't have much money. So therefore, and I had no family money and no family knowledge. So I was self-taught. My parents, my mum died when I was 1. And so I was brought up by my grandmother. Grandmother was, you get a job, you work in it all your life, you retire at 60, and then you can live. And I'm like, oh my God.
I lived for 3 years.
Wow.
So, I got the recessive gene. I'm like, how do I get rich and be my own boss? And so this property thing sounded like a cool idea. So how do I do that? I'll go buy these 10 properties and I'll keep them for 10 years, which is forever. Sell half, pay the other half. I can retire. Good in theory. But I didn't know anything. And so therefore it kind of, I sort of started, I went to a property seminar and that was all about leverage. It's like, oh, flip, cool, what's leverage? Okay, so you go and borrow 90% on all of your houses, and just if you had $1 million, instead of buying one house, you go and buy 10 $1 million houses and you borrow $9 million. I thought, okay, cool. And it doesn't matter that it's all negatively geared meaning you've got to pay every week. Doesn't matter. You'll get a tax refund. I was thinking, oh, okay, will you? Cool. So I took all that advice and surrounded myself with people who thought like that. And I remember my mortgage broker coming, hey, there's this new product on the market. It's called a caveat loan. We're like, oh, cool. What is that? Well, you'd say, I've got a property, and they'll give you 50 grand and stick a caveat on it. I was like, sweet, I've got 5 properties. Give me money. Now, which we did, cool. But that was like some horrendous percent, like 15% or something or other like that on top of everything. Never thought about that side. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter because you'll get a tax return, which you did back then. You used to get about 20 grand back per property, but each property is costing you about 90 grand. So that math didn't work out. But I used to think, don't get bogged down in the detail about the numbers. Let's just go buy some properties, because eventually it'll all work. And then the GFC hit, unfortunate. And everything, so my portfolio, my $10 million portfolio was now worth $5 million. I was like, oh. And my negative, $7,000 a month, I now have 0 to put towards it. I was like, ooh, that's bad. And I had a couple of loans with finance companies and they went under. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. No, they don't wipe the debt off. I thought I'll go and refinance it. I know they should, but they don't. But it got a step worse from me. I had a mainstream bank that said, yes, we'll refinance one of your properties. Yes. So I go to the liquidator for the finance company, Standby Services, I still remember them, and say, hey, I've got an approval from ANZ. Can I please refinance my mortgage? And they said, yes, and you can pay us a $70,000 break fee. And I was like, oh, of course, because I've got that lying around in the bank. When the house was worth, I don't even remember, like 300,000. So I was like, well, the bank doesn't want to lend me 120% of the valuation of the house, so I can't afford to do that. Oh, then you can't refinance. And so then what happened, because I was at a high interest rate, I, of course, couldn't afford to keep topping it up. So they're like, well,
7, 8, 9%.
Yeah, it was 8% back then, but this was a finance company, so it would have been like 9%. And I couldn't afford to keep topping it up. So then, of course, I got into arrears and like, well, now we're going to mortgagee sell your house. And they mortgagee sold it for $100,000. Oh, no, that's right. Hang on, wait. Before the mortgagee, I was like, I'll sell it then, seeing you won't let me refinance it. So when I got an offer, and I said, here's someone, and it's subject to the bank accepting it, here's an offer, can I sell my house? Yes, and you will pay us a $70,000 break fee. And I'm like, well, I haven't got that bit, and the buyer doesn't want to pay extra. This is a financial crisis, And so they wouldn't accept it. So then a year later goes by, and they said, we're going to mortgagee sell your house, which they did for $100,000 less than the offer I originally took them. So then they send me the bill for the $100,000 difference, the $70,000 break fee, and $50,000 in fees and arrears.
Jeez.
Yeah, which I just refused to pay, and they never chased me. Interestingly enough, because they didn't allow me equitable right of redemption, they weren't legally allowed to do that. So that's why they never chased me. So, but anyway, that was the GFC. That was only one of my experiences. I got lots more of those stories. I had more than one house go to mortgagee sales. I know all about that. I can teach you about that. So,
Was that all in that time period?
all in that time period.
Wow,
Yeah.
gosh.
So we lost the family home. We had like 4 mortgagee sales. We lost the whole rental property, ended up renting for the first time. And as I say in the opening of my book, baked beans for dinner again.
Yeah, I
We
did
had
read
a
that.
lot of baked beans. And Fred the debt collector used to shout at me, not just call me, every month. Yeah. So, yeah, that was really fun. Fun times.
Yeah, wow. And so key learnings from that.
So key learnings are cash flow's king. You know,
Cash
you
flow's
never
king.
want to get yourself in financial stress. Don't have any bad debt. So it's really easy these days. Financial companies love bad debt. You know, here's a credit card, here's a personal loan. I don't know how many different types of buy now, pay later there are. My friend tells me. I don't even know. I don't have any of that. So bad debt is the path to financial ruin. Because I look at it saying, if you want to buy the latest whatever, but you haven't got the money now, then what is the point of putting it on some sort of financial terms that charge you an arm and a leg, usually plus GST, in interest and fees? Because you're only going to be worse off in a couple of months' time. But somehow or other, our conscious mind thinks, well, don't worry, some miraculous way, in 3 months' time, we'll have all the money we don't have now. But we won't. So don't go there with bad debt. So, but I'm not one for going without. I want to have a great lifestyle. So therefore, how can I buy what I want without bad debt? That's the right question to be asking yourself. And never ever say, I can't afford it, because the subconscious mind is going, oh, okay, I can't afford anything, got no money. Change that question to, how am I going to get it?
That's good.
It's good.
That's very good.
Well, what's the difference between bad debt and good debt?
So bad debt costs you money. You have to pay it out of your hard-earned wages after you pay your tax. Good debt makes you money, and you don't have to pay it. Other people pay that for you. So good debt is a mortgage on a quadrant 4 property where you get rent that pays your mortgage, your insurance, your rates, your maintenance and your property management fees, and then puts money, in your pocket. That's good debt. Get as much good debt as you want, cost you nothing.
So you talk about leveraging. You talk about this moment where you learnt about leveraging. Did we see the financial crisis coming around that time?
Everyone but me.
All right. Is that the news stuff?
Well,
Is that where watching the news might help?
well,
Or not?
Look, to be fair, a property cycle can only be read with experience.
Explain it.
So the property market is cyclical. So is the share market, the commodity market, the derivative market. They're all cyclical, right? So right now, if we talk about the market right now, we've had the bottom of the market, which was sort of 2023, beginning of 2024, and now we are just starting to turn into the up market. And it's a 7-year cycle as a general rule of thumb. So it'll probably take us 3 years before we hit the next peak. 2.5 to 3 years before we hit the next peak. So we've got good times coming. Then you hit the peak. So the last peak was 2021 for Auckland, November. 2021 for Auckland, and the rest of the country follows suit. So the other parts of the country would have still been peaking around sort of April, May 2022. And then all of a sudden, that's the peak of the market. Then all of a sudden, vroom, the bottom drops out of it. And you can guarantee it drops faster and harder than you think. And then it continues to decline, usually for a couple of years. And then it turns around again. So you only can predict a market with hindsight. You know, all the economists would say this is going to happen and but we never know. We guess. I mean, I remember going to a property auction was it October 2021? Market was hot, man. And you can tell a hot market. The banks are paying you to take a mortgage out with them. Interest rates are low. Property markets fly out the door. You think you're never going to be able to buy. You get desperate to buy anything. The media is positive, so we can listen to it. It's like, woo, woo. And so every upcycle, you have new investors and developers that enter and made the same mistakes I made in my first upcycle. Okay, that happens every time. Then the bad times come and you always get a proportion of people that get stung. They lose their properties, they go to mortgagee, developers go under, that always happens. And then you only see the next cycle coming after you've been through your first one. You're like, I know these signs. Hang on, interest rates are starting to rise. Yeah. The really smart property people have stopped buying. Some of them are cashing up and sitting on money. What's going on in the world? And then you can sort of go, wait a minute. So I was at this property auction in October 2021, and these people, and I'd missed out on auction after auction after auction because people pay more than me because I knew it was peaking. And he said, oh, this one's cool. These people don't want to settle till April 2022. I said, oh, the market will be dead by then. It was like, you idiot. What? Don't be stupid. The market's going to be thriving by then. He goes, it better be. I've got a development on the go. And he goes, I said, no, not for me. So I was wrong. I thought the market was going to die in March. It died in January. Yeah. But and he's like, how the heck did you know that? It's like, well, because I went through 2008 and lost like heaps.
And so the biggest... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, when you're talking upswing, are the prices more expensive then or the prices cheaper then? Or
the prices will start going up and up and up until you get to the peak of the market. So if you look historically over the last sort of 70, 80 years of New Zealand, now I've got to try and do this. Usually I look at these numbers and I've got them in front of me. Now, generally the market rises over a period of time. If you look at a bar chart or line graph, you'll have a rise, a little dip, a rise, a little dip, a rise, a little dip, right? But over time, it goes up substantially. The interesting thing about New Zealand is that from 2000 to 2015, it went up 7% year on year compounding, right? Which is about 200% growth over the previous 50 years.
Damn.
It's insane. And then if we look at New Zealand, I was asked about this on a show the other day, and I looked up because I thought, oh God, what do I know? I better look it up. And I looked up. They asked about Tony Alexander, what I thought of him. I was like, oh, he's a flipping economist. He knows what he's talking about. So I better do my homework here. So we look at New Zealand, Australia, the US, Canada, and Ireland. I don't know what Ireland was in the mix, but it was. And they said, why is New Zealand higher price property than all of those other countries? And I looked it up and I was like, okay, New Zealand was higher for a very, very short period of time and then it dropped behind the US and Australia, but still ahead of Canada and Ireland. So why? Couple of reasons. One is our habits in relation to borrowing in New Zealand. So New Zealanders tend to take a 1 year fixed term. Just as a general statistic, we do that. Canadians, for example, tend to take a 5 year fixed term. So therefore, when rates were low at 2.29, and I did not take 5 years fixed, I took one, jeepers, we had people hurt quicker because our 1 year was up, as opposed to Canada, who took 5 years. America, you can actually lock in for 30 years.
What?
Wouldn't that be cool?
Wow.
That's awesome.
No, 1% for 30 years? Yes, please.
Especially when we were at 2%.
I know. The downside with America is you sell that house, pay off that mortgage, get a new one, and you get the new interest rate. But what that meant, of course, was a lot of Americans weren't selling. So they actually had a real lull in their market for quite a long time, which is why their numbers dipped below New Zealand for a short period of time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And same with Canada, because they typically had the 5 years, so people weren't hurting. So it's sort of like that's sort of why the market changes. It depends on what our habits are and what's available.
Yeah. So New Zealand promotes the 1 year?
I don't know, actually. It was interesting when I found out that statistic. Not really, because you look it up and you've always got 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5. They're always just there. And maybe it's just a Kiwi habit. I mean, I remember hearing somewhere, I don't remember where, some economists or financial advisors or private bankers say take a year, because if you spreadsheet that out over 30 years, that must work. And so most people, myself included, don't actually get a spreadsheet and work that out. We just go, okay, I heard that, must be true.
So I'm hearing the lesson here is when the market peaks, and when the market peaks, it's because interest rates are low, houses are hot in terms of prices, banks are wanting you to be their customer in terms of loans and all of that. This is when people buy hard.
Yep.
And that's not the right thing to do.
Yes and no. It is very easy to buy. So I had a client come to me in 2021 going, should I buy this property? It's the top of the market. And I looked at his financials, said yes, because COVID was 2020, right? And his financials were not good. But he'd been pre-approved. So if he'd missed out, then he'd have to have resubmitted those 2020 financials, which of course come round in 2021, and then he wouldn't get approved. So I was like, in that case, yes.
Based on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you've got a choice, no.
Yeah.
Don't buy at the top.
Yeah. So you're coming from a financial state, financial position. If it looks good and you get the approval, cool.
Yep.
But if you can hold off, so in that 7-year cycle, when would be the best time to buy, from the peak to the bottom?
And you see, this is another good question, because ideally the best time would be at the trough, right, when we're at the bottom. But interest rates are super high. Banks don't want to lend you any money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they'll put in something tricky like triple CFA, so everyone will get declined.
What's a CFA?
I don't even know what it stands for.
Okay.
But the banks brought in triple CFA. I said to my friend who's quite high up in the lending, what does triple CFA actually stand for? She goes, credit something financial act. I was like, okay. So, they bring in something which basically means that when a bank looks at how to approve it, they used to look at a certain number of things you spend money on, like your insurances and your groceries and necessities. And then the rest of it they'd call discretionary spending, and then that was okay. They'd include that in your UMI, unencumbered monthly income, because it's discretionary. You can stop going to the gym if you really want to, and you can stop going to McDonald's 3 times a week and save a bit of money. But now with triple CFA, no. Instead of your 6 or 7 main expenditures, we're going to look at 13. So your gym membership's now an expenditure, your McDonald's that you go to 3 times a week is now an expenditure, your kids' swimming lessons now an expenditure. So, look, your unaccompanied monthly income is 0, so you can't borrow any money. Yeah, nice. So it made it real tough for people to borrow. So that's your downside. It's not easy at the bottom of the cycle to buy any property. And the media's doom and gloom. So people are scared. They're like, oh my God, don't buy anything.
Yeah.
But, I look at it thinking, okay, come on. So when the warehouse has a sale, 50% off, we go buy. Why the heck do we not do that when property's on sale? And that's the downside. All the investors go buy then.
Yeah,
Good
that's right.
point,
Yeah, so the richer get richer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
So if you're going to, and this, okay, let me now switch without even you asking, to the property quadrants.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to buy in quadrant 1, which is your family home, so it's emotional, you can buy that anytime you like, because you're going to live in it for as long as you want. If you're going to buy in quadrant 4, being your investment portfolio that's cash flow positive, that's going to put money in your pocket after you pay everything, you can buy that anytime you like. Because if we look over 70 years of property in New Zealand, it always goes up. Now, ideally, if you can buy it at the bottom, that's even better. But we can't necessarily, because we know the bottom in hindsight, and we know it's tough to borrow money at the time. Okay. If you're going to be in quadrant 3, which is the active income quadrant, you've got to be real careful with that one. So again, the good news with that, so active income, say you're going to do a property renovation. I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to renovate it, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to make some money. Cool. If you buy that at the bottom of the market, the thing that's real easy is to find one. There's like all the agents are ringing, do you want a house? Do you want a house? This is a bug, it's cheap now. It's like suddenly I've got all these houses. Cool. And then I can renovate it. Awesome. And then who wants to buy it?
No one.
Exactly. So it sits there forever and a day. So how am I going to make money if I can't sell it?
What's the time frame to flip it and sell it?
I like to
Ideally.
have a 3-month settlement to settlement.
Oh,
So
okay.
3 months from when I settle on the purchase to 3 months when I settle on the sale. Generally takes me 3 weeks to turn it around. Not me, my amazing building team. I'm useless. So it takes them 3 weeks to turn it around, and then of course you allow a month for it to sell, and then a month for that purchaser to settle.
So you buy the property. What percentage should you be spending on that flip?
It's not really a percentage.
No. Okay.
You've got to do your numbers on it, but as a general rule of thumb, this is where you've got to have so property investing comes down to time, knowledge, and money. Okay. Now, by the way, you can have none of those, because one real big key to doing well on property is to partner with somebody else. So if you've got no time because you're busy working full time, you go partner with someone who wants to find property. Okay, and you let them do that work. If you got no knowledge, you go and you get yourself a property coach or a project manager or a partner who does property trading. If you got no money, you go and get yourself a money partner. Okay,
How do you find one of those?
Like who?
Is this the bank?
No.
Okay.
No. So you can use the bank, but like in my case where the bank was like, go away, you find someone who has a lot of money but no time or knowledge. So they say, you go, where do you find these people? You find them at property groups. They're property investors, which is why I said in the first place, go to property groups, read the property magazines, call people, talk to people, join online groups, talk to them. Because then you build a relationship. It all comes down to know, like, and trust. They need to know you. So don't expect to go, hey, my name's Nichole, do you want to give me $100,000?
They'll be like, for what?
They say no. Unbelievable. Yeah. So, but what we've got to do is we've got to say, hey, man, I'm Nichole. What do you do on property? My husband taught me this. Shut the heck up, Nichole, and let them talk. It's like, oh, do I talk too much? No, he's right. He's right. So, you just ask them questions, you let them talk. And then they know you. Then they like you because they've talked about themselves. And then it takes a number of interactions with that person before they trust you. So property's a marathon, not a sprint. And the thing that's ironic here, right, is when you're in the depths of despair and everything's crap in your life and you listen to these millionaires and billionaires talking, they go, don't worry about money, man. Just get out there and do what you love and the money will flow in. And you think, yeah.
That's the conscious I'm speaking.
Frick, awesome, but I've got a power bill of $50 and how the heck am I going to pay that,
Yeah.
And I get that. That's one good thing that came out of me losing everything in the GFC. I get that now. And it's like it's all very well for someone to say that. But when you're at that bottom and you're desperate for money, you're desperate. It's like, back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If your basic food
basic
and
needs,
shelter is not fulfilled, you can't think,
Yeah.
at that next level. So therefore you've got to think, okay, what's something simple I can do to fulfill that? And that's where you might become the property finder. And now finders get paid typically $5,000 to 20. I like to pay my finders 20. 20K is great money. 5K is great money.
Wow.
Gee, I can buy a lot of baked beans for that.
And so $20K to go find you a really good deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is too, is people go, oh, well, hang on, wait a minute. How do I find a deal? Well, you ask those people, what do they want? And they'll tell you, I want this type of property in this location. And the great thing about investors, not home buyers, because quadrant 1, home buyers, it's emotional. So they have to love the property. So, they let them go to the real estate agents and look at 55 different houses. Okay, that's cool. But an investor, that's the numbers they're interested in. So you tell, what numbers do you want? Okay, so what they'll say is they want to know if they're going to look for a renovation. They'll say, I want to know how much that property is going to sell for after it's renovated. Oh, flip, how do I know that? Easy. Go to the open homes. Go and look on Trade Me. Beautiful new houses, beautiful new renovated houses in the area they want to buy in. And go to the open homes. And then go to the agent, how much is this? They'll tell you. go to the auctions. Sit there with the list, listen to them get sold and write them down. Oh, that's sold for that, that's sold for that. Then you know. And take notice of how long they take to sell. Because there's no use if they go, oh, this one's $1 million. How long's it in the market? Oh, 10 years. Well, it's not worth $1 million, you know. So that's how you find that out. And then you work out, okay, after sale price, start there. Next, deduct the sales cost. How do I know that? Easy. Ask the how much commission do you have to pay an agent? Look up Barfoot and Thompson rates. They're the cheapest and everyone will match them, by the way. Okay. Right, so that's that. Plus marketing, plus staging. They won't tell you that. Marketing's $3,000, staging's $1,500. So that's your sales cost. Then you go, right, that was the easy part. Minus, next easy part, profit. How much does that person want to make? Probably going to tell you $100,000. Everyone wants to make $100,000. And you go, oh, that's impossible. They'll probably take 50. So somewhere between 50 and 100. And, you know, you might think, oh, that's a fortune. But you think about it. They're taking all the risk. They're putting in all their money. Of course they're going to want to make a decent reward from it. Okay, cool. That's easy. Next, minus renovation costs. Now, that's tricky. You're like, oh, God, how do I know how much something is going to cost to renovate? Okay, a couple of ways you can find this out. One, go meet some property traders. Ask them. What do those sorts of things cost? They'll tell you. They love sharing that information. Listen to some podcasts. Get yourself a property coach. Again, go to the property investor associations. Read the property magazine. There'll be a renovation in there. There always is. Ring the people and ask them, hey, how much does a renovation? They'll tell you things. Never be afraid to ask. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's good advice. That's
awesome.
good advice, Nichole.
Yeah. Ask for the moon. Ask.
I like those three things.
Yeah.
But in saying that, Nichole, I'm just wondering, given the current real estate market, what opportunities do you see for those, or both new and seasoned investors who think, oh man, what opportunities do you see?
Well, I think that there's heaps. I'm very excited about the next couple of years because we are going to be into the upward part of the property cycle. So we can buy lots of quadrant 4 now to put in our property portfolio. And if we can get something that's cash flow positive now with interest rates still high-ish, as they come down, we're going to make more and more money. And as the market climbs, we're going to gain more and more equity. So that's cool. I am noticing in the last 2 weeks, those multi-income properties sold. Okay, so 6 months ago, I'd say to my mentoring clients, just wait 2 weeks before you call the agent back. No one's going to want it. Now, we've got a couple of days to put the offer in or it's gone.
Wow.
In multi-units.
Wow.
Okay, so market's changing. So that's pretty exciting. Banks are loosening. So, you know, but we've got it. Don't worry about missing out. We've got a couple of years ahead of us. It's going to be cool. But that's all good and well if you've got money. So if you haven't got money, you can still prosper from the property market. One of my favourite things, no money deals. Because I have had to make money with no money. Like in the global financial crisis, I had no money. I had bad credit, no money, no family money, no nothing. Banks didn't want to know me.
And how much debt were you in at that time after?
Oh, I don't know, 10 million, give or take a few zeros.
Mate, Nichole, good.
No, but when like,
Just 10
and
minutes.
I guess the reason why I'm asking this, Nichole, is because I want people to understand like what the redemption story really is. Because it's not just, I think people just, because you're so positive and you're just such a great storyteller, and you talk with such enlightenment, but the climb back, it wasn't ground zero, was it?
Oh, it was ground negative. No.
Negative.
So my first milestone was to get into the black. I was like, oh, what's that colour?
I know.
The red. What's that colour?
I can imagine. So what are you able to talk about that?
I tell you what. Yeah. I tell you what. I remember once going to the supermarket going, okay, I need to buy milk because my kids are like 2 and 4. Where am I going to get $20 to buy milk? And I'm looking at my feet and I'm holding, oh my God, there's $20 on the ground.
No
like, oh my
way.
God, I can now go and buy some milk. Woohoo! And I can afford something else, like maybe some more baked beans. Or maybe we can have scones tonight because that was real cool.
Yeah, scones go far.
They do. Yeah, we used to have those a lot. So, yeah. I don't know, I've lost track. What was the question?
All the debt. From red to black.
Yeah, all the debt. Okay, so, things like I was about $2,000 behind on my power bill. Okay, I couldn't afford to pay my power. It was like $2,000 behind. Also, because my grandmother lived with me, who was in her 90s, right? So to look after her as well. I found out like 3-4 years later that she could have got a subsidy from WINS because she was, even though she lived with us, she had her own place. And I was like, oh, it would have been nice, didn't it? Then I wouldn't have been behind in the power bill because we were paying all that for her.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. So, so I did that with one. I was renting for the first time in my life because we'd lost the family home. I got behind in the rent. Not so far that they kicked us out, thank goodness. I had I still do, 1997 Toyota Hilux Surf. Still got it. Still got it. 375,000 kilometres. So cool. But I couldn't always afford to drive it because it would break down every now and again. And then of course I had about $150,000 on my credit card, and that's bad debt, right? And about $20,000 on my charge card, bad debt. And I think I also had like hire purchase or whatever the heck it was called back then for the kids' beds, all these Harvey Norman, in 30 months interest. Like, yeah, cool. I'll buy a bed, this and all this bad debt. Now, to be fair, the big $150,000 on the credit card was the company I was working for at the time sent me over to South Africa to open their offices, and I put all the expenses on my credit card, and then they stopped paying me. I said, oh, sorry, but we're not going to reimburse you. Wow. So that wasn't me being willy-nilly buying heaps of McDonald's and KFC. That was actually a company cost.
But now it's sitting with you.
But it nevertheless in my name. So that, wasn't that frivolous. Because I remember getting that credit card. American Express used to write to me and go, do you want a credit card? I'm like, nah. And finally they said, hey, we'll give you a free trip to Brisbane. And I was working in Brisbane. So I thought, cool, why not? So and then they sent me a card and they said, okay, here's your card and you can have a $150,000 limit. I was like, oh, sweet. Didn't know credit cards did that, but cool. Wow. So I put company expenses on it. So to be fair, that wasn't my terrible. But hence Fred, the debt collector, calling me about how I'm paying all this debt off. Okay. So I used to have my cool calls from him. So that's why I'm so big on bad debt. And I took these lessons and moved forward with them. Like, it was tough having suddenly I couldn't have a credit card because I had bad credit because American Express put a bad credit on me, even though I made a deal with Fred and I was paying it. They still did that. So that's why I'm sort of saying bad debt doesn't get you anywhere except down the financial hole and in financial stress. And I was kind of like, had no option. So it was not that I chose not to have any, because it's like you get a loan to consolidate your bad debt. It's like, ooh, cool, let's do that. Now we've got this big loan to whoever's let us consolidate it, but they didn't tell us. I had to close this card, that card, this buy now pay whatever. So I've still got it, and that's how you get in the perpetual cycle of I'll just spend this, and it all adds up. And you have your FPOS card, and you spend, and your bank statement right. You're like, oh, how did that get so high? And so I used to do little things like I had cash. I had one envelope for groceries, one envelope for going and doing stuff on the weekend, one envelope to go to McDonald's, and I put cash in it. And when the cash ran out, I was like, oh, that's it. I can't do any more until I get paid next month. Not that I had any pay come in, but my husband did until he lost his job, but that's also another unfortunate series of events. So I did little things like that because when you've got cash, you know how much you got to spend. And so then I still carry that forward. Like, I don't use cash now. I couldn't, COVID stopped all that. But I don't have bad debt. So I never went back to having all those $1 zillion worth of credit cards. Yes, I have a credit card. It's got a limit of $1,400. So if I have to buy something online, I can just use that. Pay it off every month. But so, it's and I sort of teach that to my kids. It's like, why would you? And you see, like, Q card, I got one of those. It's kind of handy if I've got to put something on it for the business, and I've got 3 months to pay it. But I noticed the other day, I actually read the thing because they charged me 5 cents interest. I'm like, why am I getting charged interest? I ring them 5 cents. They don't know. We can't figure that out. And I'm thinking, 5 cents on how many people? How much money are you guys making? But it made me read the fine print. It's like 28.99% if you don't pay your thing off. I thought, oh,
sure.
How many people do that? A lot. Like, buy now, pay later. I said to my friend, he goes, oh, but it's interest free. I said, oh, well, interest free, cool. So what if you don't make your payment? Oh, they just pay you just pay a fee. Okay, what's the fee? Oh, it's only $5. I was like, but wait, how much you got on buy now, pay later? Oh, $50. I was like, well, $5. Oh, that's a lot, 10%. How often do you pay the fee? So I can't remember now whether she said monthly or fortnightly. I'm like, wow, that's expensive. So, okay, you don't think it is because it's a little bit. But then what do? You get a bigger limit and you pay a bigger fee and then you get 2 and then you get 3 and then you're in crap. So no bad debt, but you don't have to have no lifestyle.
So so with all of that, you had to climb from that, and so you're saying you don't have to have money to buy property? Is that what you said earlier?
You can do no money deals.
Yeah, no money deals.
So how did I
you
get
said.
there? Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm in the doldrum and everything's in overdraft, and I had to find $20 on the floor to buy milk and all this stuff. And then we lost our house, and then we had to go rent, and then we got notice to move out. And I was like, oh, how am I going to find something? Because you go to buy for a rental property and they do a credit check. I was like, oh, And then they say, oh, you want to have income? I was like, oh. So I put out through the school notices, who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who's got a house, because we were in Coatesville, right? Like the most expensive place in New Zealand. But luckily someone's friend's brother-in-law was moving to Australia and we got the house. It's like, oh, cool, no credit checks, no nothing. They even forgot to charge us our bond for a year. So thank goodness it took me a year to save $1,000 to pay the bond when they finally remembered and asked me for it. So, whew. Never got behind in that rent though. So, so that was cool. So what did I do? Well, I actually loved living there. So starting number one, mindset. It's like, oh, now I'm in a house. I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, I used to wake up every day going, if only we lived here. And I was like, oh no, we do live here. I mean, if only we'd own it. It's like, wow, this is amazing. And the house came with a horse, right? I'm no joking, there's like this big 8-acre property, I think, and there was two horses grazing. And it's like one of the horses was this gorgeous black horse. His name was George. I was like, oh man, I love that horse, so gorgeous. I used to stare at him every day and I think, oh, taking down some carrots. It's so cool. And then the person who came out to look after the horses said, hey, do you want him? And I'm like, I don't know anything about horses. And I laughed. I thought that was cool, And then I'd get chatting and I'd go for a walk with George and we'd bond, right? And then she goes, no, seriously, I've spoken to his owner and you can have him.
Wow.
And I'm like, but I don't know anything about horses. She said, I'll teach you. And I'm like, okay. And so what I start doing, picking up horse poo. Oh, I loved it. I said, oh, can I have your horse feed bags? And I found an old poo scooper thing in the shed. I started picking up poo, put them in her bags, tied it with some of the twine from her hay. Can I have some of your twine? Yep. Haul it up to the top of the driveway, paint a little sign, horse poo for $2. Put a little ice cream container, cut a little slit in it, put a stone down to weigh it down so it doesn't blow away, and then sell the poo. Man, when someone bought it, I was so excited. It's like, woo, I've made $6. Man, she's got some big bags. If I did a big bag, I can sell it for $5.
Oh my gosh.
And so I started to make money with no money because horse poo also costs you no money. So it's a zero-sum game business. I mean, I'm making like $10, but still, the point is that the philosophy's there. And then I had all this time while I'm wandering around talking to George to come up with, well, hang on, how do I make more money? So George is going to need some food, and then I discovered he needed to be shod because I wanted to learn to ride. So I found a riding instructor, Rebecca Hayes, great friend, fabulous person. She said to me, so is George shod? And I went, what's that? She laughed. She went, oh my God. Has he got shoes on his feet? Oh, the horses need shoes. Oh. So that's going to cost me money. Oh, how do I pay for that? Oh, I sell more horse manure. And then I thought to myself, brainwave, what if I got in a grazer? Like someone bought their horse to graze next to George and paid me to use to eat the grass. It's like, that's a thing. And so I did, and they paid $60 a week. So I 10x'd my money. And now they bought 2 horses, right? Double the poo.
What?
And I thought, oh wait, I read some grazing contract. They're responsible for picking up poo. I said, hey, there's a poo pile, stick it all there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, and then I thought to myself, okay, wait, that's cool. So how can I do property with no money? Because I certainly haven't got any. So what if I do the similar sort of concept? What if I go and find a property and then I find someone else who wants to buy it? And I can just get the property under contract And then I can put a due diligence clause in, which means I can walk away with no excuse, just say no thanks, and I'm safe. And then I go to these people that I've met at these property things and go, hey, do you guys want this property? And lo and behold, someone goes, yeah, okay, cool. And I'd paid, I don't remember how much, and I got them to pay $2,000 more. I mean, $2,000, how dumb is that? Now I realise I could have made 10. But, I didn't know. I was like, and I was like, whoa, I've made $2,000 on one deal. I was like, yay. And I've got these contacts now. So I did more and more and more, and my best no money deal was $200,000. So that was cool.
What?
That was cool.
Gosh.
I mean, I had to work up. It took me a while.
Yeah.
Work up from that. But in general, you'd make between 10 to 20, 15 grand as a general you could get. And the person I'd on sell it to would make their 100. So they thought I was awesome. So they'd come back to me for the next one.
So slow that down. So so how do you get the property? You have a relationship with the people who are trying to sell it? Is that right?
You have a relationship with the people. You can do it both ways. So how you get the property is just search for it on Trade Me.
Right.
And you just ring the realist. You look for something. So you're looking for a niche in either quadrant 3 or quadrant 4.
You haven't talked about quadrant 2 yet, but anyway.
No, that's a mistake. Quadrant.
Okay.
So quadrant 4 being you're in multi-unit investment properties. So you have an investor that says, just go find me one of those, and they'll usually pay you 15, 20 grand. Right, so you go find those. You search on Trade Me, and you ring the agent, and you say, how much is this property? How much rent does it bring in? And if it meets the criteria, you stick in an offer. Okay, put the due diligence clause so you can walk away. If you get one under contract, it take you a while. It's not straightforward. You've got to do some work. You might have to put in 30 offers before you get one. Then you go to your person and you go, hey, I found one. And then you fill out what they call a back-to-back contract. So one, you're the buyer, and the other contract, you're the seller. And you sell it to them for 20 grand more than you paid for it. And they love you because they're making $1 million over time and rent and passive income and everything. Of course they'll pay you 20,000.
Yeah.
Happy as Larry. Win-win.
Yeah.
That's quadrant 4. Or you go to quadrant 3, someone who wants a renovation. Go find me a dog. Find me the worst house ever that no one wants to live in, that is just falling down. And then we'll renovate it and we'll sell it for profit.
That's so cool.
So you look for those. That's your niche.
Yeah. And then you find a buyer for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. And then you learn as you go. You learn what these investors value in property. And you think, man, I'm earning as I'm learning. Then and this is what I did, right? And then I met these investors and they got to know, like, and trust me. And then they said, oh, well, I'll money partner you. So you do this renovation, I'll put the money in. I was like, oh, cool. Now I'm making a percentage of the profit. Then you get to the point where you've made enough money to actually buy your own.
Wow. Because
a second-tier lender is much easier to get finance for that, which you always want for a flip because you're only borrowing the money for 3 months. Banks don't care about that. So that's easier money. So then you can start to do your own, make more money. Then you've got the deposit to go buy your quadrant 4.
So is this a strategy you made up on your own? Sounds like it.
It is. It is and it isn't. It's not new.
Okay.
You know, it's like most property investors know this. That this is what they do. Okay. I fine-tuned it into the quadrants.
Right.
So quadrant 2, just because we haven't mentioned it, most people make a mistake there. They go buy their family home. It's emotional, right? We love it. They get to the point where finally they've paid down the mortgage or it's gone up in value or they've got a pay increase. They think, oh, go get it. Like I thought in the beginning, go get myself an investment property. But they don't know what they're doing. So what 98% of investors, they make a mistake. They take that same emotional thinking for their family home and they apply it to an investment home. I'll buy something in the area I like, which is going to be expensive, so it's already going to be cash negative. Something that I think is pretty cool. I won't touch anything I don't like, and then a tenant will love it. But it's cash negative, so you have to top up the mortgage. So that makes us poor. Okay. Whereas what we should be doing is throwing our emotion out the window because it doesn't matter, and you go and find something where the numbers work. And people are going to me, but this house is on a main road. No one wants to live on a main road. I go, come, look down the motorway. Do you see any houses? Yep. Are anyone living in them? Yep. So what are you talking about?
That's good.
Oh, well,
That's good.
I don't like a main road. Okay, we'll chuck that out the window.
It's not about that. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man. Is this all in your book?
It is, yeah. No, see, everything
love it.
like that is in the book. Everything there. And I give you, like with renovations, all the numbers. Gantt charts of how to do your tradies, and it's all about people.
I wonder why it's a bestseller.
My goodness.
This is amazing. Because one of the things that I love doing, I've always loved doing this, is, and I've done this since I was young, is I just love keeping tabs on the property trends and the property markets. I like to see what's out there. And then I'm always looking for the dog houses, see how cheap they can go, but not really had the guts to jump into it. I've always been like real skeptical, sort of sit on the side and then just see all these opportunities fly by.
Yeah.
It's not a nice feeling.
But sometimes, look, people say to me, but it's risky. And it's like, it is if you don't know what you're doing. How you de-risk is knowledge. So if you're unsure, go partner with someone else who's done it before. And you think, where do I meet these people? Well, they're at the property investor associations, and they'll chat. Property people always talk. People can book a call with me on my Calendly link. They just book a call and I talk to them. They go, oh my God, you answer the phone. It's like, yeah, I'm here to help you do something with property.
Wow.
And it's so funny. My daughter's like, people will talk to me. She goes, Mum, why are people so happy to talk to you? They're like, man, I don't listen when you talk to me. And then she thinks that's hilarious.
Because you're my daughter.
Yeah.
Just a quick question for people who aren't homeowners. Should their first home be their own home, or should it be an investment property? Or
that is a very good question. And the answer is, it's a hard answer because your own home is emotional, right? So you really want one. So you can get a dog and a chicken and can't have anyone tell you what you can and can't do. And I suppose the answer is, this is what I say to my clients, what's your 10-year plan? Most people go, I don't know. And I think it's always important to know, what do you want in 10 years? Do you want financial freedom? Do you want to be working? Some people just love their job and they want to be working, or they're growing a business or whatever. What it boils down to is they want choices in life. So the next question is, well, how do you get there? So if you replace your current salary with passive income, that gives you choices. Because right now, if you give up work, they stop paying you. Miserable sods. Okay. Stop paying you. But with property, you stop working and you get paid anyway. So that's what we want to aspire to. So then I say, okay, pull that back to the next 12 months. What steps can you take each week to get there? And in order to build that, you've got to build quadrant 4, because that's what gives you passive income. And then you need to use quadrant 3 to get the money to put a deposit down or to pay off your mortgage. So where does your family home come into it? When can you buy that? And that's where I think you need to plan for when you decide you want to buy the family home, because the family home, yes, it's an asset on paper, but it's a liability out of our pocket because we've got to pay money all the time. Okay. That said, I'm always a strategic thinker. So how can you create more money? If you buy your family home, can you put some storage on there and rent out storage? Can you rent out a room and get someone else to come and stay with you? Can you put on a tiny home and rent that out? You can put on a cabin. There's so much you can actually do to make it happen. But I always like to have your cake and eat it too. So it's like, well, can you go do a quadrant 3 deal first to put more money into your family home and leverage that to get a quadrant 4, and then use quadrant 3 to pay it down and get the bank to discharge the blanket mortgage?
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's always an answer, but it boils down to what your plan is, and then let's figure it out.
cool.
Commercial property, your thoughts are on that? Does
Look,
that sit in your quadrants?
I'm not an expert in commercial property. Yes, it sits in quadrant 4. It can sit in quadrant 3 as well. So commercial property works more on a capped rate. So if you wanted to flip a commercial property, for example, there's multiple ways, your best way of doing it is to put in a really good tenant, which gives you a higher, you can renovate it as well, gives you a high capped rate, which means you can borrow more so it becomes more valuable. The value goes up in it. So commercial's good. It's a good diversity. You can borrow less. You can usually only borrow 50%. So you have to have a bigger deposit. And it's very hard to get a cash flow positive commercial property. So typically they'll yield a 4%, whereas in residential, if it's cash positive, it's probably a 10% yield.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and the commercial and the residential cycles are different. So residential's been on sale, but commercial hasn't. So it hasn't had the same sort of liability. And then there's 5 different types of commercial as well, like whether you get an office block, a retail block, an industrial block, those sorts of things as well. And you want to diversify your portfolio across the different types of commercial, and each of the types of commercial are cyclical. Like at the moment, retail's not yielding well, but industrial's awesome. But of course now the cost per square metre of industrial is higher. So, so it's another animal to learn. Yeah.
It sounds like it. Oh, gosh.
And I'm not a commercial expert. Okay. So, but it's another, yes, it's good to diversify, but it's something else to learn.
That's awesome.
Do you recommend specialising, if you were to get into retail, just to find one niche to kind of specialise in, at least initially?
Initially, yes. Yeah, it's good to know one thing, yes. But I think the best thing you can do is partner with other people that know everything.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
You don't need to know anything yourself. You just need to know people who do.
Yeah, and just learn.
Correct.
And earn.
Yeah.
Earn as you learn.
What do you say, Nichole? How do you say about those who are still quite skeptic? Like, okay, in terms of, and so what are some of the common misconceptions about property investing, and for you who's been in the game for years, how do you advise people to navigate them?
Good question. 3 key things I think that people think. They go, 1, it's risky. And then they go and they talk to the wrong people. Oh, you might lose everything. Okay, so what I say, and I put this in my book actually, I say, right, list down 10 people you go and talk to about stuff now. They write them all down. So now grab a highlighter, and out of those 10 people, highlight the ones that have got the successful property portfolios with the passive income you want to be earning. Like me, none. None. So then it's like, now cross those people off the list, and who are the right people to talk to? So that's a real key, because those people will be feeding your mind. What are you feeding yourself? Okay, so that gets rid of your misconception about risk, because if you're talking to all the right people, knowledge will de-risk. Okay, then the other misconception is, I've got to be rich, because the property is expensive and it's going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can do property with no money. In fact, my second book, which is currently at the publishers, is called No Money Deals. Oh. How to do property when you're stuck for cash. And I've got real scenarios in there from my mentoring clients who've done no money deals. Wow. Yeah. So you can do property with no money. You absolutely can. I did. I had to. I didn't have any choice. And it's a great place to start because there's no risk. And they go, well, how do you do that? Okay, you need someone to teach you. Yeah. You can learn a lot from books, podcasts, and all that stuff. Start there because it's inexpensive. I'm all for spending very little money. But at the end of the day, you'll have to invest some time and you'll have to invest some money into learning how to do it.
Yeah. When does your book drop?
It'll probably go live, it'll go to the American market first. It'll go on Amazon probably next month, I'd say.
Cool.
But it will hit the bookshops here probably February, March. Get
it quicker through Amazon, eh?
Yeah, Amazon will, but then you got to pay a lot of shipping.
That's all right.
So, and I will be doing Audible. I read my own Audible.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And
cool.
and both my kids have done a foreword in the new book. I said to the kids, go on, write how you think your mum is. I thought, oh God, what are they going to say? I didn't know if it was going to. But it's pretty, because I thought, I'm a family person, and so I think, what legacy are you leaving your kids? What example are you setting for them? And my daughter said to me, Mum, when we had all those baked beans, were we broke? I was like, yeah, we were. Oh, I thought you were just a cool mum letting us have baked beans. You could have stopped our swimming lessons. I was sick of that.
Man, how cool are you that you made that whole time of your life an adventure for them? That's cool.
That's one way of putting it.
How else would we?
But it is, Nichole, it's an incredible story. And the thing is, that makes it even more incredible, it's a true story.
Yeah.
It's a true story. It's like, man, the resilience. And I think I'm not even kidding, we introduced you to determination and dedication and grit. Man, it's really who you are.
I know.
Oh, gosh.
And it's the last thing I'd say to people too is you can do it, and don't let anyone tell you can't. You flippin' well can, you know, so do it.
Yeah.
Because people often listen to me and they go, it's all great for you. But I didn't get to where I was by doing nothing. And I also didn't listen to the people who told me I couldn't. So if I get a no, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go and ask someone else. Yeah.
I love that.
It just pays to ask, eh? Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask.
Absolutely. You know, and it's like I say real estate agents. I've got some fabulous real estate agents. And some of them I'll ring up and they'll go, oh, no, you can't buy this property. I'm like, well, I can't. That agent's no good. Won't ring them again. Give me another one. Same with a solicitor, same with an accountant, same with anyone, same with a builder. I get a builder to a renovation. Oh, God, this house. No, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, rubbish, isn't it? That builder's hopeless. Go find me another one.
Yeah.
Now I'm how people ring me. They go, who's your team? I'm like, I've got the most awesome team. Tradespeople are brilliant. So, you know, I don't know. Do I let everyone call Leif and use my builder?
I was going to say, do you, in terms of doing flips, the quadrant 3 type stuff, do you have the same team?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I do. So, okay. So, like I say, use Leif Jeffrey's instruction. Don't everyone ring him. He's freaking awesome. I mean, he turns up on time. He's on budget. He does a high quality job, and he already knows how I'm going to think. He'll come up with any problem. What's the solution? Yeah, they're awesome.
How do you avoid cowboys?
Well, referrals. Okay, so I haven't had the same builder forever because my very first builder retires. And then, you know, all these things sort of happen. So when I need a new one, I'm like, well, who should I use? Who's a good referral? So again, you go to those investor groups and go, who do you use? Now, you can go to the No Cowboys or those sorts of labour websites and you can look those up. And I'll know, like when I go round with a new builder, so like when I got Leif, for example, my previous builder had broken his wrist like 2 days before my job was starting. So I thought, flip. I phoned about 4 or 5 builders, met them on site. And this was an old dunger because it was a reno, you know, terrible as. And one of these ones built in 1950s and someone had converted the garage. Oh, no. First build, no, this is all illegal. All illegal. I knew it wasn't. I looked at the property bag, you know. Drawings were all there. No, this is going to fall down. It's going to leak. No, this is no good. Oh, it's going to... I was thinking, I could flag that builder. You know, Leif comes along. Oh, yeah, okay, well, it's built in the 50s, but, you know, we're doing like for like, so we don't need to go to the council as long as we stick for like. And this, you know, certainly wouldn't be signed off now, but it was then. If you looked at the property bag, yes, I have, and here it is, and the bathroom's all legal. I guess, oh, yeah, sweet, okay. And I thought, oh, this guy's good.
Yeah.
And then he said, and I said, okay, give me a quote, not an estimate. He gives me an estimate. I go, no, I want a quote. No, we can't do this because, you know, COVID prices. And I thought, all right, I'm desperate, right? So I'll use you because I'm desperate. And because in my book, what do I say? Never accept an estimate. What am I doing? Accepting an estimate. I'm a builder, I don't know. Okay. First time ever I get a builder that comes in under the estimate.
Wow.
And delivers on time. I'm like, whoa, this guy's good. So now I say to everyone, always a quote, except Leif, his estimates are awesome. Don't worry. Sweet.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that you work around everything. I think it's so important, eh?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you're always going to have a problem. It's just a case of, well, what's my solution?
Yeah.
And I always look for a win-win as well. To me, it's important that everybody wins. I'm not one of these... I think you've got to do things morally, you've got to do things ethically. And to me, it's important that everyone win-win.
Incredible. And I love it. You're right in terms of your solution-focused.
Correct.
I liked it. I really liked it. And like I said, just an incredible story. Oh, what a... Man, it feels like it was a bit of a masterclass, eh? You reckon? It feels like just some great advice. And you know what's so cool about it, Nichole, is that you're freely just giving it, and I know it comes. And some people think, because often people think, rich people or people who are investing, you know, they're probably not the nicest people, and you know, you probably heard this, they're not good people and all that. But that's a bloody myth there. That's a bloody myth.
Some of them are assholes. Let's face it.
Some. But it is. I think what makes you even more better in terms of your success is that you love people. I can see that you love what you do, but you, like you said early on, it's about how to help people. Even out there, you said, "Hey, how do I help people?"
Yeah.
And so incredible. But for me personally, I just want to say thank you for your time, but also thank you for the wealth of knowledge, but also your expertise and just freely giving it, and just just your heart around property investing and who you are. So, man, props to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks very much for having me. So you guys do an awesome job too. It's with all your stories out there inspiring people, and how do we make the world a better place? How one person at a time.
Yeah,
I agree. I totally agree. No, yeah, I just want to ditto what Batia said. Thank you so much for and your shoes are so cool. I keep looking at them. Sparkly shoes over here. But no, I just really want to thank you for your just your generosity around sharing everything. There wasn't anything that you sugarcoated. It was just how it is and how you got out of it, and your redemption story, man, it's too good. Too good. And so it sounds like to me there's a real gratitude around that experience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, it was not nice to go through at the time at all. No, these things aren't, but they make us stronger. They bring us out being a better person. I think it made me definitely more giving, because suddenly you realise what it's like to really have nothing and really struggle and to really be stressed, and how do you get out of that? And also, the gratefulness. Like, I'm very lucky that I've got such a good family. My husband, when we got married, he said, "Oh, love you if we were in a tin shed or a mansion," not realising that tin shed was going to be the reality. But he stuck with me. He's amazing.
Good man.
Yeah. So I think that those key things,
Yeah, and just the gems. My gosh, I mean, this is the stuff people should pay $10,000 for. And man, I can't wait.
Real.
I'm going to be on the lookout for that book, just so that I've got new tools up in my toolkit to be able to sort of figure that journey out for myself. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. If you like me and you hate reading, we can listen to it as well. So
Yeah, and you got a nice voice.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah, nice.
You're you're a great storyteller. Great communicator.
What do you use Audible for yourself? You said you listen to.
Yeah. That's why I put Property Quadrants on Audible, because I love listening to books. You can get so much more information by listening when you're doing something than actually having to sit and read and stop working. Yeah.
What are some of your favourite books?
So this year, some of my favourites. I liked, as I said before, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, Joseph Murphy. I also really like How the Rich Get Richer, which is a Robert Kiyosaki, like a add-on to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I really like The Gap in the Gain, which is Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, and they also wrote 10x is easier than 2x. I also really like that one as well. And I like Tony Robbins. So I listened to, was it Unstoppable? I really quite like that. I listened to his Money Master the Game. I sort of liked it. It's quite American in the different types of way they suggest you do your portfolio, but the principles are good. And I also recently listened to Can't Hurt Me, which is David Goggins' story. I really enjoyed that. And I listened to Elon Musk's story, which I also really enjoyed. And it was really cool, because then one of my clients came on board who was a rocket scientist, and I was like, man, I've just listened to that book, I know this much. Like a teaspoonful. So I sounded intelligent for about 2 seconds talking to him.
Oh, that's cool.
Were there any did you find with any of those books that you really like, are there any similarities between them, especially the finance ones maybe?
Yeah, I like a good story in a book that's got a purpose. I like when somebody sort of beats the odds, like you listen to Tony Robbins' story, and he started off with nothing, and so now they've given away millions of dollars in food. That became his sort of charity to make sure people get fed. So I kind of love that when people go ahead and do things like that. David Goggins' story, he of course was a Navy SEAL.
Navy SEAL, yeah.
And so he started off helping people as well. So, I love the fact that he sort of started doing his ultra marathons to help SEALs families when they'd been killed in the line of duty. So I love the fact that people have giving hearts, and that I sort of enjoy that theme of books. Like when I listened to The Gap in the Gain, and I realised that's like what I called my up and down lens, and that was so cool. Of stories I've had people who have been through terrible things, and what do? They choose to forge through and make life better, because it is, that's what we can choose to do. So I love that. I mean, I listened to Grant Cardone. I like him. I sort of think, man, he's gone and bought a block of 1,000 apartments. How did he do that? He said, I borrowed 120%, and I sort of then put all the individual tenants. I was like, rats, you can't do that in New Zealand. So I'm thinking, well, how could we do that in New Zealand? Let my brain tick over there. So it's always a case of what can we put into place, because there's always something, you're always learning. And the other thing that I teach my kids, make mistakes. Like the best way to learn is to make a mistake. So I go out there, look for opportunities, make the most mistakes you possibly can, and learn from them. And I think our schools kind of discourage mistakes, and I think it should be the opposite, because that's the way we learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's great.
There's one more thing that I've heard from a few people, Dave Ramsey, and there's a few other financial people. They tend to say being generous is a part of like being wealthy. And is it important? Is it a part of being wealthy, being generous with your money? And
to me, it is. There's certainly arrogant, wealthy schmucks, and good on them. They've made their way in life, but I tend to think, like, I looked at wealth, I made a little acronym for wealth, and where I said, okay, wealth stands for wealth, but not only money, like, wealth in a lot of different ways, including health and including knowledge and things like that. And then E, I said, was enterprising. So you've got to get out there and you've got to be able to do things. A was for abundance, and that was having the abundant mindset rather than the mindset of everything's scarcity or abundance. And that's I think that's a key thing as well, because when you think abundance, like, I'll tell anyone what they want to know in property. They're like, aren't you worried about your IP being given away? It's like, no, it's all about helping people. It's all about abundance. There's enough property to go around. So, I think that's another key mindset. What am I up to? WEA. L is for legacy. So for me, it was all about building a legacy. What am I teaching my kids? What am I showing to people? And then T was for thriving, and that was, again, thriving instead of surviving, because I've come from that survival mode, and it's nice to thrive instead. And then H is humanity. And it's like, because at the end of the day, what are we doing it all for? Give back to humanity. And you don't have to give money. Money's one thing that you can give, but knowledge, time, appreciation, caring, gratitude, all those things. You can say something to somebody. And I remember having a conversation with someone, and went, oh my gosh, you've changed my life. I'm like, I haven't even done anything. Just talk to, like they rang me and left a message. I called them back. They were like, oh, my prayers have been answered. I can't believe you called me back. I was like, well, of course I can talk to someone. I can take time. So it's all sorts of ways. So to me, that's important. Absolutely. Because, I actually remembered a church service many, many years ago. Jeff Vines took the church service. He's a American preacher now, but he was here in New Zealand. Went to one of the first churches that I started going to as an adult, and he was saying how he used to love playing Monopoly. I thought, oh, right, now this is my kind of sermon, whew. And but then it took a different story. And he said, so his grandmother used to always win, but one time he won. And he said, and then he had everything displayed there beautifully with all of his properties and his hotels, all his money stacked up. I'm thinking, oh, that's a great church. Where's this going? And then Grandma says, okay, that's it, Jeff, put everything back. And he's like, what? No, let's leave this on display. I've won. Let's see it all. And she goes, no. At the end of the day, it all goes back in the box. And then of course he was appropriately sort of quoting the correct verses in the Bible that I don't remember. But actually I do. 1 Corinthians 4:18, which is one of my favourite verses. Fix your eyes on what is unseen, for what is unseen is eternal, and what is seen is temporary. So therefore, what are we doing? It does all go back in the box. So let's share as much as we possibly can. And if you can help 2 or 3 people who are currently stressed in whatever way be unstressed, so they can put time into their family and they can grow up to put time into their family, we're winning.
Man, amen, Nichole.
Preach
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah, we've done religion as well. Now politics.
Politics, do we want to?
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
That was so cool.
But there was one more thing.
Is it politics?
No, it's not. I know there's, from what you've said here, there is good debt and there's bad debt. Stay away from bad debt. Don't buy things you can't afford.
No, we don't say we can't afford it.
Oh, okay. Yes.
How are we going to?
Yes. So for people who have already incurred bad debt, are there strategies to sort of, I mean, yes, you pay it off as quickly as possible, but do you pay the highest interest stuff? Do you pay the biggest sum? Do you start from the cheapest and work your way down? It doesn't really matter.
That actually is a very good question. And the best way to do it is to pay the highest interest off first, because interest is a killer. So that's the best way to do that. But I always look at things also from a different standpoint, like, because you can get buried. Like if you go, okay, I'm earning $100 a week and currently I've got to pay $150 a week. Oh my gosh, I'm getting deeper into debt. You know, that's quite stressful. So I look at it thinking, okay, so how can you make some additional money? Like, would $5,000 be useful? Would that help you out? Like, yeah, okay. Well, how can we go and make $5,000? So, you know, and I mean, obviously I know how to do that in property. Originally I didn't. I knew how to do that in picking up horse poo. So it's a case of always think outside the box. What do you know? What are your strengths? What are you good at? And people go, well, I'm not good at anything. Everyone is. Everyone's brilliant at something. And usually it's like you're brilliant at something, but you don't even realise you're brilliant at it because it's so natural to you. So I think it's a very good question. Higher step first, but don't stress yourself out by looking at it from a linear perspective of I've got limited income, what do I do? Look at it from a driven mindset perspective of how can I generate extra income easily. So that's kind of the way I look at things too. How can we do something easy? And how and who can help me? So, yeah. And not who can help me as in someone give me $500 please, as in who can open my mind to how I can make $5,000 easily.
Yep.
It's the how-to way.
100%. I mean, like I remember once when my son was little, Jacob, and we're driving somewhere or other, and there's a kid walking down with his trolley putting newspapers in people's letterboxes. And Jacob said, why would anyone do that? You know, you work all those hours and you get next to no money. It makes no sense. Because what I'd taught Jacob to do is when he was young, he wanted trash bags. They were like a thing. And a mean mother that I am, you know, we go into the shop. Mum, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? I say, is it Christmas or your birthday? No. Stop asking. Because I'd only get something on special occasions, right? So he's like, how do I get these trash bags? I'm like, well, I pay heaps of money for you to learn the violin. Go busking. So he goes down outside the warehouse, busks away. He sucked. Oh, sorry, Jacob, darling. For a 7-year-old, my gosh, you were amazing. And he was so cute. So he spends 20 minutes. He makes his, I don't know how much. I think he makes about $20, $30 in 20 minutes. People put all their coins in. Thank you very much. He goes in with his little bag, gets his trash pack, goes to the checkout, dumps his $20 of $2 coins, 50 cents. And goes, oh, wow, how long have you been saving this up for? And he goes, about 20 minutes. She's like, and he goes, well, that sucks, Mum, but it's better than doing newspapers. So, you know, what is the easiest way to make the most amount of money in a way that you enjoy? So let's think a little bit more outside the box. You know, I guess what I'm trying to say, you've got the newspaper mentality. That's the hard way to make money. The busking is the easier way. You know, even if you suck, doesn't matter. And yeah, what he had to do, he had to learn and he had to get a violin.
Bro, he's
And I made the money for that too.
Well, those are skills that you paid for him to get. So that's why they were really, in that case, he had those skills already. He can use those to go and make money.
Yep.
So it's about getting your brain working, stopping that language of like, we can't afford it, we can't do it because it's too much.
Correct.
Change it to like, how can we afford this? And just let your brain take over.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So like my daughter, what did she want? I can't even remember, something or other. And I said, okay, you've got to make the money. What can you do? She goes, well, we accidentally got a rooster. We didn't mean to. We accidentally got a rooster. She goes, oh, I can breed chickens. And I thought, oh gosh, I've created a monster. But actually, chickens is a real viable business. So I said, yeah, okay. So she worked out it's going to cost her $2,000 to set up this business. Whoa, incubator, and she'd make it back within like 6 months. Oh, cool. How are you going to buy that? Bank of mum and dad. I was like, well, nope. What's another way that you're going to get it? So she goes busking, right? She makes a little bit of money, but yeah, I do give her a small portion, but she has to pay it back, and I make her keep a trial balance and a profit and loss. And she's like, at this age, how old was she? 12 or something, 13. And she goes, what's the trial balance? Well, that's your assets. So now you've got this incubator and you've got this brooder and you've got this lamp, etc. Okay, and there's your liabilities. What's that? Well, you've got a loan, your debt to your mother. Okay, cool. So she writes it all down. So she does her first batch of chickens. It's all paid for. Boom, done. And now she owns the assets, the incubator, the brooder, the lights. What it costs is power. That's all, because the chickens do their thing and they make eggs and they incubate and then she sells them and she's got to spend a bit of money on chicken food. So she, sells her eggs, sells the manure, sells the chickens, and also all her cost really is the food. And now everything's paid off, and she wants some money to breed some chickens. So, there you go. Everyone can go be a chicken farmer. But it's just a case of thinking, what can you do that's low cost? Because you don't need thousands of dollars. Well, in her case, she did need to. You don't need thousands of dollars generally to set up a business. But what can you do? How can you generate some income? Horse poo, free. If you got a horse, I suppose.
That's cool.
Or you know someone who has.
That's cool. Thank you.
Oh man, just so many good good stories we can do. I guess we can just yarn and because it's incredible stories and just amazing. But thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, team. But we do have a gift. I do have a gift for you. Every guest that comes on, we always give them a caricature, a bit of a cartoon, how we envision them to be. And so on behalf of the Mandate team, this is for you, Nichole.
What do you envision me to be? Oh, wow. Someone is seriously talented.
Thank you, yeah, but thank you so much for just thank you once again. Thank you for joining us at the table, Nichole.
Thank you.
But Nichole, before we finish off, is there someone you can think of at the top of your head, someone you think, man, you need to have this person on the podcast, you need to have this person to share some pearls of wisdom?
Oh gosh, I've probably got heaps of people I can think of. Who would I go off the top of my head? I think if we're sticking in the property, I think I met some really cool people when I did the Property Matters, and Tapari is absolutely brilliant. She's a mortgage broker who also really, really likes to help people. Vanessa's probably like the queen of statistics when it comes to anything you want to know as far as the numbers and how things go. It's actually one of my really good friends. Her name is Lindley Lee. She is amazing at working out multiple streams of income. I mean, it's like if I had her brain back when I was young, it's like, man, she's really clever. And then I've got another friend, Paul Madgell. He's also in property. But I mean, he's got some good stories, man. But he also thinks really outside the box. He's really cool. My coach Dee, but she doesn't live in New Zealand, so she's pretty awesome. So lots of different people, depending on what your listeners really want. I've got lots of people in the horse world and the writing world, as well as the football world, if you want to go down that track. So, let me know who you want, and the business world and that sort of stuff as well. I can certainly recommend lots of people.
Oh, awesome, Nicole, that's awesome. But we always give our guests the last words. Any more pearls of wisdom?
I think the main thing I want to leave everybody with is that whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way you're right. That's good old Henry Ford. It's not me saying that, but it's true. So tell yourself you can do it because you can, and ask. Don't be afraid. If you don't ask, the answer will definitely be no. But if you do ask, the answer will be yes, eventually.
Thank you once again, Nichole. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to your well-thought-out comments. As usual, team,
refine,
unlock,
and take charge.
I need to redeem myself to be a better human being.